Well, have you ever heard of the Ultimate Fighting Championship, the UFC?
That's the bloody thing they're trying to ban.
This guy is the best he has ever seen.
Do you hate each other when you fight?
Absolutely not.
How's it going, guys? Welcome back to my channel and time for another episode of Luke's Reviews. On today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the newest film from Dwayne Johnson, who is leaving his khaki shirt behind and embarking on what many are saying is his most challenging role to date, a wrestler. Right? Yeah? Oh, okay. Not a complete departure, it seems, but clearly unlike anything that he's reportedly done before in The Smashing Machine. Johnson plays Mark Kerr, a former wrestler turned fighter in the early days of the UFC. By no means the spectacle it is now, we meet Kerr in the prime of his career and about to head to Japan for an upcoming tournament. However, the pressure of his impending bouts is weighing heavy on him, not to mention his dangerous dependency and addiction to pain meds, as well as a hostile relationship growing between him and his partner Dawn. Kerr's life is on the brink of falling apart completely. The title of The Smashing Machine owes itself to the documentary of the same name that chronicled Mark Kerr's career and personal struggles. Now, I have to be honest, I've not seen the documentary. In fact, I went into this film knowing next to nothing. I was completely unfamiliar of who Mark Kerr was. I wasn't all too familiar with the state of the UFC in the late 90s, early noughties. In fact, the only real frame of reference that I had of what this film was going to entail was the trailer. And what surprised me most with The Smashing Machine is that, yes, you have arguably one of the biggest movie stars on the planet in Dwayne Johnson leading your film. You also have a global superstar in Emily Blunt, not to mention a very, very well-respected director, one half of the Safdie brothers. So everything was positioning this to be a big, grand Hollywood film, and it's not. It is incredibly personal, raw, grounded, understated, intimate. And I mean all of those things in a very, very good way. Safdie's direction is sure to keep clear from any Hollywoodizing or watering down any aspect of Kerr's addiction or his relationship with Dawn. The camera deliberately keeps a few paces away from the characters. We're barely ever treated to close-ups. If they do, they're an invasive zoom, almost as if that this film is really hearkening to that documentary-like feel and acting like a fly on the wall. Also, by shooting on 60mm film, we immediately eliminate any of that glossy, overproduced look. You could have told me that this was filmed in the early noughties, and I would have believed you. The sound design, too, is particularly noteworthy, especially in those fight sequences. The level of detail is borderline excruciating. We hear every single blow landed with thunderous sound. The cracking of bones upon contact, the impact of gloves against bodies. It's an incredibly immersive look as to how brutal this contact sport is. But what makes The Smashing Machine work so well and has emerged as one of my favourite movies of this year are the performances. You have heard all of these headlines. Apparently, this is Dwayne Johnson's career best performance, and I'm here to sit here and tell you it is. This is nothing short of masterful work from Dwayne Johnson. And I say that having been critical of him in the past, of not really going to take that risk, of playing it safe and just feeding into those box office numbers. And he's been open with that. He said that that is what he did. But he saw this role as an opportunity to challenge himself, to push himself even further as a performer, as an actor, as a human being. And I think he has well and truly succeeded. His softly spoken, gentle demeanor is greatly juxtaposed by how effortlessly savage he is in the ring. However, the longer that we spend time with Kerr and the more Johnson begins to unveil the pain that he carries, we see it's an incredibly vulnerable showcase from Johnson, who goes far beyond his usual wheelhouse. From the uncomfortable confrontations with Dawn, the fear of allowing this addiction to get the better of him, not to mention the obvious physicality of this man, it's by far his best performance ever. One of the best performances that I have seen so far this year. And I think awards bodies, if you have seen this film, I see no reason why he shouldn't be amongst the conversations, not to just be nominated, but potentially walk home with an Oscar. And by no means to be overlooked either is Emily Blunt as Kerr's partner, Dawn. Now, what I really appreciate the film does is that they don't fall into this trap that we've seen of films of this ilk do, where we portray the partner as the long-suffering wife who is doing her damnedest to get him back on track, even if he throws it back in her face at times. That's not the case for Dawn. She is equally, if not more so, damaged than Kerr. The film doesn't shy away from the fact that these two were extremely toxic to one another. And because of Blunt's talent, she is able to navigate her way through oppressor and victim, sometimes even within the single space of a scene. I also want to shout out Ryan Bader, who plays Mark Kerr's longtime friend, Mark Coleman. Now, Bader, as far as I'm aware, has always been a UFC fighter, or is a former UFC fighter, and to the best of my knowledge, doesn't really have prior acting experience. He's fantastic in this. He does a remarkable job, more than proving himself as a really talented actor. If this is a career path that he wants to look into down the line, I think it's well worth his investment. Besides the fact that it is heavy going in places, and as a result, I can't say that this is right at the top of my must-watch again list, but otherwise I found The Smashing Machine to be an excellent film. Benny Safdie strips away a lot of that frenetic energy we'd seen from him and his brother in their past movies and keeps the circumstances grounded and understated. Kerr's life is not star-studded and extravagant, but it is distinctly raw and human, and Johnson's amazing performance allows for that to be displayed. I just recall sitting back in my cinema seat and being riveted by this man and his story. So I'm going to give The Smashing Machine an 8.5 out of 10. Anyway, guys, those were my thoughts on The Smashing Machine. Let me know, have you had a chance to see the film yet? What did you think? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. And my question to you, I would like to know that there's always this eternal debate, it seems like. Who is the best wrestler turned actor? Is it Dwayne Johnson, John Cena, Dave Bautista? I think in a lot of the conversation, Dwayne Johnson's been towards the bottom of that list. But with The Smashing Machine now out, and we're all able to see what he is capable of as an actor, has that ranking changed? So, who is the best wrestler turned actor? But that is all the time we have for today. So thank you very much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Hello, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have, make sure to click that like button, and if you aren't already, click that subscribe button too.